Cyclone Errol poses a threat to Western Australia. After struggling to get its act together for some time, Cyclone Errol has finally been named and is currently a tropical storm with winds of 65 miles per hour and a pressure of 992 millibars. This weekend, the system is expected to impact Western Australia as a weakening cyclone. It is currently a tropical storm and a Category 2 cyclone on the Australian scale, winds 65 miles per hour, which is 105 in kilometers per hour, 992 millibars with 29.29 inches of mercury, moving west at 7 miles per hour, 11 kilometers per hour, and we are code blue with 40 points. Errol is currently located at 14 degrees south and 123 degrees east. It is 230 miles from Ashmore and Cartier Islands, 313 miles from Broome, 353 miles from Kupang, 450 from Port Hedland, and 5:15 from Karratha. This is location as of 5 a.m. Western Australia time, April 16th, and the numbers that are in the parentheses represent kilometers, and those to the left of it are in miles. Here are the storm's wind fields measured in nautical miles. We are 35 to the northeast, 55 to the southeast, 50 to the southwest, and we are 30 to the northwest. There are currently no watches or warnings in effect for Errol, but they may likely go up from the Bureau of Meteorology in Australia as the storm approaches the coastline. And once the storm gets closer to land, it will begin to start weakening drastically, potentially becoming a remnant low shortly after or even before landfall. The primary hazards for Cyclone Errol are rip currents and flooding. Early on, Errol's main hazard will be strong waves and rip currents that could potentially impact the Australian and Indonesian coastlines. Once it reaches Australia this weekend, the threat will shift to flooding rains over land. When near the coastline, remember to watch for rip currents, which could be indicated by darker water, a line of foam, or debris in the water being pulled away from shore. Remember not to drive through flooded roads. Move to higher ground if flooding occurs. And if it's flooded, forget it. So again, the primary hazards of Cyclone Errol are rip currents and flooding. And also, once Errol moves over land, it will likely also be bringing some strong to gusty winds with it as it weakens. Here is the latest code from the Bureau of Meteorology in Australia. As you can see right now, it is currently a Category 2 cyclone on the Australian scale. It will continue to intensify a little bit more, but peaking as a Category 3 cyclone on the Australian scale. Then it will weaken all the way down to a tropical low right before landfall, according to this forecast. Do note that changes may be possible as the storm intensifies and gets closer to land. Here's JTWC's forecast cone, very similar story. Its wind field is expected to expand as it gets stronger, and it may start to diminish once it gets closer to land and starts losing the strength that it once had. So again, this cyclone is expected to strengthen a little bit more, maybe edging major status on the Saffir-Simpson scale. Force 13 analysis currently has Errol at 65 miles per hour, and as you can see there's the JTWC map. We have Errol to the northwest of Australia, and we also have Cyclone Tam, which recently formed as well in the South Pacific, expected to impact New Zealand. Here is the HAFS-A model. It is showing a infrared loop of what the storm could look like as it progresses. And as you can see at the beginning, it has quite a decent amount of convection, but then it starts to lose it quite a bit as it approaches the Australian coast. So pretty much it loses its strength pretty quickly. Here's the same model run but showing wind speeds in the area. As you can see, The maximum knot value it shows here seems to be about 108 knots, so it might edge out major status. Although it will lose a lot of that wind speed, again, heading towards Australia. So wind impacts are not that big of a concern with Cyclone Errol at this time. Here are the sea surface temperatures. As you can see, it's really piping hot where Errol is right now, especially to its southwest, where you can see these pink areas. And pretty much in the entirety of the map here, it shows very, very warm sea surface temperatures. So it definitely allows for this storm to grow to a pretty decent strength. Here are the surface plots around the region. As you can see, the black text is the air pressure, the blue is 10-minute winds, and the red is air temperature. So a lot of those areas down by Australia are in the mid-20s in temperature and are in the 1005 to 1010 millibar range, and the 10-minute winds do not seem to be very strong at all around these areas because Errol is a very small storm and is not impacting those areas at this time. Here are the RAM plots. As you can see, the track guidance is pretty similar for most of these runs, but the GFS takes it pretty far south compared to the others. Although a bunch of those, such as ECMF and HFSA, take it further to the east a little bit. And the intensity guidance shows the HAFS-A model, HFSA, whatever you want to call it, model, being the strongest, having it reach major status, as well as the HWRF and JTWC guidances as well. The deep layer shear gets really high towards the end of the cyclone's forecast period, and it basically becomes unsurvivable for the storm, and the storm will dissipate very shortly after it gets sheared to death. Sea surface temperatures are pretty stagnant with these models here, as well as the mid-level relative humidity shows not much of a disagreement between the models shown here. Although the HAFS-A model seems to have a bit more towards the end. Here is some satellite imagery of Cyclone Errol at this time. We can see it's trying to develop an eye right now. Definitely a sign that it is indeed strengthening. A very healthy looking storm at the minute. And has some very good convection with it, lots of banding. Although we will see what it looks like as it strengthens. We'll see if it gets stronger. Here is more of a zoomed out view of the storm, alongside some clouds towards the northeast, which is Invest 97P, which could also become a tropical cyclone as well. However, this is pretty much it for the Cyclone Errol update. Stay tuned to Force 13 for future updates. We'll see you soon.
Become an Ultimate Fan today.